Today, it's Shabbos Parshas Bamidbar, Beis Sivan Tavshin Mem Gimel. That's 40 years ago. So let us begin. The Maimer is going to speak on the Haftorah, because the Haftorah, as the Maimer is going to point out, is on the same topic, like the Haftorahs usually are, the same topic of what the Parsha is about. It says in this week's Haftorah, it begins with the words, that the number of the Yid will be like the sand by the sea. That will not be measured and it cannot be counted, etc. This is from Isaiah. And in a pasuk this pasuk is the beginning of the Haftorah of Parshas Bamidbar. Casual Parsha Zu, the connection between this Haftorah and our Parsha, which would gab a Parsha Zu, Nimni Yisrael, because also in this Parsha the Yidden were counted, and to such a degree is the theme of the counting of the Yidden important in this Parsha. Nikra kol ha-sefer b'shem chumash kudim. So powerful and so important is the counting of the Yidden in our Parsha, and explaining how the different flags and encampments worked out. So the entire Chumash is called the Chumash of counting, the Chumash of numbers, the Chumash of the sum totals of the Yidden. And therefore, since it's such a basic and vital theme of our Parsha, concerning this, we're speaking about the Haftorah. But Shea is speaking about what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, the number of the Yidden will be like the sand by the ocean. They will not be measured and not be counted. So the Rebbe asks the question, we need to understand the Lechuru, seemingly there's a contradiction from beginning to end. The Bereisha from the beginning of the passage seems to indicate that there is a number to the Bnei Yisrael. At the end it says that it will not be measured and not be counted. Instead he should have said, the Yidden would be in such a way that they will not be measured, not be counted. Not to emphasize that there will be the idea of number. So in other words, instead of saying the words, there will be the number of Bnei Yisrael, that they will not be numbered, it should have said instead that the Yidden will be without number. This number and not number seems to be contradictory. Obviously, poetically, it sounds nice, but of course, Chassidus wants to delve deeper into that. Then he goes on, another question, also we need to understand the general idea of counting the Yid. The Lechura, how do you do it? Seemingly it's known, bracha does not reside only in something that's concealed from the eye, as opposed to something that we counted in a revealed way. So something that you count in a revealed way, bracha cannot reside. For Hashem's bracha to reside, they say don't count your wheat in the silo, or else you're limiting. Once you counted it, you said, okay, this is how much wheat there is in the silo. Okay, Mao Klolos Inyan Mispar B'nai Yisrael. So in general, whether in our parsha, whether talking about the Haftorah, whatever, other parshas in the Torah, why Bechlal is there an idea of counting Eden when it should be better if we didn't count? Also, we need to understand in the continuation of Psuk, after the first pasuk of the Haftorah, it says, etc. So then it says, the Chsiv Sham, it says over there further, instead of saying that you are not my nation, which is the way the Yidden seem to be during the time of Golus, he will say to them, you are the children of the living God. And then it continues further. Next pasuk, v'nigtzu bnei Yehuda bnei Yisrael Yaakov, and the bnei Yehuda bnei Yisrael, which is referring to the split of the Aseret Hashvatim and Malchus Yehuda. So you had the bnei Yehuda, that was a separate government for much of the Bayis tradition, and you'll have the bnei Yisrael, which is the other 10 Shvatim, which split off, and they were separated. So now we're going to gather them together, like we have different psukim and Tanakh telling us about this. Instead of being two separate governments, two separate kingdoms with two separate rulers, they will have one head, they will have one ruler, they'll all be together. So the Rebbe says, these three things, Mispar b'nei Yisrael will be without count. Lo yamiatem, you will be a b'nei kelchai. Instead of being two nations, you'll be one. So we need to understand what is the content, what's the meaning, obviously the deeper spiritual content of these three things. The fact that one follows the other is obviously must be because there's a connection one with the other. It's not just a series of things that are going to happen in Mashiach's times. If the psukim follow one another this way, there must be a connection. Also, when you understand why in the second of the third of the three things is there emphasized that it's in the place of that instead of in the place of saying that they're not my nation, we will say they're the children of the living God. Seemingly you should have said instead of saying instead of he should have said, and they will call those that were or said prior to this, you're not my nation, we will call them the children of the living God. Just like beforehand, the like we don't say that in place of having a number of the Eden, so now they will be like the sand that will not be measured. Or in the last pasuk of these three psukim, it doesn't say in the place of being, instead of being Bnei Yehuda, Bnei Ephraim, two separate governments. Instead of that, b'makim, they'll be together. So why in this set of three things, specifically when it talks about, when it says lo yamiatam b'nei kel chai, madua dafka kan nemar shu b'makim, why specifically over here it says that it's in the place? Lovin calls that to be able to understand all of this. Magdim will put the Torah parsha saying all the pasuk. He prefaces and put the Torah in our parsha on this pasuk. The Adam who Olam cut person is a miniature world. Just like in the world, it's made up of the four elements of fire, wind, water, and earth. So, to the soul of a person, there's also the four elements. Like it says, also the world was placed in the heart of the Yid. The entire world that's made up of four elements, those four elements are placed within the person as well. And he has four elements within himself. And the entire world that's made up of the four elements needs that the person should focus on his own four elements. And when he fixes up, he elevates his own four elements, his internal four elements. With this, he repairs and elevates the entire world. Now the Rebbe adds, we could add to this, Chazal said, I was created to serve my maker. This understood the the reason why a person has these four elements of fire, wind, water, and earth. Since his avodah has to be in these manners, in these ways of fire, wind, water, and earth, because since His whole being was created to serve his maker. And he has this in his being. So if he has this in his being, this means this is part of, and this is what's dependent upon his service of his maker. Therefore, he was given these four elements because so that his service to his maker should be able to express itself in these Dal Yisoidis, in these four ways of Eish Ruach Mayim. Don't worry, later on the Maimer, the Rebbe is going to explain specifically what is the avoid of Eish, what's the avoid of Offer, and so on. Yesh Loimar, the Rebbe says, based on this, we could say, this is also the explanation in the continuation of the matters in Kudei Torah over there. The Achrish and maybe Shabbatim Yeshem Adal Yisoidis, after he brings down the person, there is four elements. He continues the Gamas Olam Nasam Belim Shalom Le'Adam, that also the world was placed in the heart of people by Deisha Mesakan Adal Yisoidis Shalois, through repairing these four elements within him, through elevating his four elements within him. With this, he elevates and fixes up the entire world. So the Rebbe says, what's the connection between the two things? The Yeshavayr Kesher can explain the connection between the matters. The fact that I have within me four elements is because my entire being was to serve my maker. And therefore, what follows out from that, by extension, through repairing the four elements that are within him. So therefore, he fixes up or repairs the entire world. So here we're going to get into how he's just going close. So what is these Dal Yisoidis in the person? He continued and to explain what are the Dal Yisoidis in the service of a person. Maskell will say that the Matal begins with an order of going from below to above. Afar Mayim Ruach Ba'esh. First he explains earth, then he explains water, then he explains wind, then he explains fire. So the Rebbe is going to comment even not just on the connections, but why specifically does the Alter Rebbe choose to go from the lowest to the highest? The reason why the Maimer, the Alter Rebbe Kudei Torah, chooses to explain each one of these Dal Yisoidis and Avoid, but he chooses to explain it in this order: first Offer, then Mayim, and so on. What's under discussion over here? The avoid of a person in this low world, in our world down here below. Just say that avoid the order of the avoid in this world is no way of going from below to above. So therefore, since the way how we work in this world is we have to go from bottom up, and a lot of times it's explained just like using a lever to be able to pick something up. You need to pick it up from the bottom and then everything else lifts up. But that's already a separate conversation. But the main thing is we start from the bottom, then we work our way up. Therefore, the Alter Rebbe, the Torah, when he speaks about the four Yisoidis, starts first with the lowest of the four Yisoidis. And the Alter Rebbe explains concerning this, the dust of the earth hints as an avoider that's in the level of earth. Amr Azal Chazal said, Lama Nikrishma Eretz. Why is it called Eretz? That it wanted to do the will of its maker, or, like we're soon going to explain, it rushed, it ran, and the word Ritza, to do the will of its maker. Zek Koil Beis Pirushmi says the word Ratzasa, that's why it's called Eretz, includes in it two explanations. Meloshin Ratzon, from the word it wanted to do the will of its maker. Meloshin Ritza, Merutza, it is in a way of rushing to do the will of its creator. And whether you translate the Ratzasa from the word wanted, or you translate the word Ratzasa from the word rush, it means that it's the same content. Hatshuka lasses retzayin koina. It's the desire to do the will of its maker. In other words, like this: why does a person rush? Why is a person running? A person runs to something that they want to do. The person doesn't want to do, so they delay. They don't run to do it. The running shows that there's a will to do it. So therefore, whether you translate rotzasa as want, or you translate rotzasa from the word rushing and running, it's the same content. That the aretz, idea of earth, afar, offer, is about wanting to do, desiring to do the will of its maker. Zeu in eretz, that's the idea of earth. Inyan tshuva shebachalech rech misrael lekol ba'yizbarech. It's the idea of the tshuva that's in every single yid to want to become part of the Eibishter. Because the idea of tshuva is the returning, the varuch tashuv elokim asher nasana, going back and returning and becoming part of Elokus. This is also associated with another characteristic about Oretz. What do we find another characteristic about Oretz? All step on the earth. What is that indicating that everybody steps on the earth? Indian habitl, idea of bitl. We see that when we speak about bitl, we use the analogy of earth, and we say that my soul should be like dust of the earth. So the idea of earth and offer, in addition to what we said before, that it indicates a desire to do the will of its maker, is about hainu shehiv b'chinas bittul. The idea of earth is that's in a state of bittul, shein mitzius la'atzmai. It's not a separate entity. It needs an assistance and a help from above. So these are two things that are interconnected. The Yid is rushing to Hashem because he feels himself that he himself is of no significance, and he needs Hashem to be able to help him out to do his avoid. That is Yisoida of. Next thing, going from bottom up, in Yisoida Mayim B'Avodas Adam, the idea of the element of water in the service of Yid Eibishter, you've not been much cost betil. Top of the next page will be understood according to what it says in Tillim. It says that you remember the earth, but the and she was either what shekah can mean you gave her to drink, according to some fortune, but we'll soon see an explanation here. The Rebbe says shekah for the word desiring. You remember the earth because she was desiring and thirsty for water. You will make her rich much with the channels or the streams of Hashem, which are filled with water. So what does this mean? Shemili Hatshuka, the fulfillment of the desire of the earth. Not the fact that the Aretz is desiring, it's how does that desire of the earth filled? Why they are mayim? It's through water. What does that mean? Nabayus Hashem, the Indian Mayim, the idea of water is Shem Yerdim and they're descending from a high place to a low place. Now the Rebbe says, when we say that water descends from a high place to a low place, it's different than anything else that descends from a high place to a low place. Water, the Rebbe is going to emphasize, is always searching out the lowest place. It's not just sometimes they're descending from a high place to a low place. This is their nature. This is their characteristic. If there's any possibility to go lower, and there's nothing standing in its way, so then they descend the most lowest place, and over there they remain. Offer, let's say, you drop a clod of earth, you drop a rock on a high place. Sometimes, depending on the situation, it will roll down. Sometimes friction, weight, whatever, will keep it in its place. Water is not that way. If there's nothing blocking it, it will always go down. So here we're talking about there's the desire of the earth, and that desire is filled through water. Water is the coming down from above to below. What is that beruchnius of avodas adam? What is the idea of beruchnius of something that comes from above to below? Hey, mitzvahs, this is the idea of mitzvahs. Koil Torah, including the Torah, the way it's one of the 248 mitzvahs in Amach, including the 248 mitzvahs commandments. Shekulam Yordun Lislab Beish Bedvarim Gashmim Dafke. All of them, Torah and mitzvahs, and Torah was Nimshul Amayim. They all came down to being clothed in physical things, just like water seeks and searches to go to the lowest place. Mitzvahs on their own, their place where they initially come from, they come from above. Where do we see that mitzvahs come from above? That he relates his words to Yaakov. What does it mean it's his words? Why do we say it's his words? The Mashu Oisehu Aimer Yisrael. So this always brings down that what the Maimer Chazal says, it's called Dvarav and Chukav and Mishpatav because it's something that Hashem himself does. He tells Yidden to do. So it started off that Hashem is doing it. And then he tells the Yidden to do it. So mitzvah started off above, like the water started off above, and then it descends down here. Afterwards, they came down, they were drawn down. The Zeu Inyan Magid, the word Magid, like the Rebbe also explains, the Haggadah Shel Pesach, Haggadah is also Lashon Hamshacha. The word Haggadah in Aramaic could also mean Hamshacha. It's used like a river that flows and goes down. So the idea of Magid, the Dvarav Yankiv, also means that he draws down, Magid, he draws down his Dvarav, his mitzvahs, down here, Lamata, down here below. This idea that could be drawn down from above to below, this is accomplished through a service of a person, through a Yid. You do a Pirish al Morazak Magid, like it's shown, the explanation of the Alter Rebbe and the Mezritcher Magid. And then he says, sometimes this is also brought down the name of the Baal Shem Tov. The Maimer Azal Dam Mamal Mailam Mok. You should know what's from above. What's above is from you. That from you and in you, the matter is dependent. All the things from above. So the fact that it can come down, that the mitzvahs is in the way of Mayim Hayerdim Namuch, that the mitzvahs come down here into this world, this is our doing. So that's the second explanation. That's the second level. That's the level of Mayim. So we explained Oretz, we explained Mayim. I'll leave the questions for the answers. We'll finish the Mayim today. But it says in the pasuk, Eretz loy sava Mayim. The earth was not satiated and satisfied by the water. Meaning, even after we have the water, the mitzvahs, we still not released from the desire of Achekika. We said before that you remember the water, the earth, and its yearning, and that's why you gave it a lot of water. But that doesn't mean that once we have the water, we should stop having the chukka. We still have the chukka, and where is that expressed? Why is the Aretz loy sava mayim? Why is it not yet satisfied? Since we find ourselves in this world, the word concealment, since we still need to maintain this chukka, since we need to keep up this chukka, this yearning, this desire for Hashem, we need to have something to make sure that we keep it going. We need a special empowerment from above. That is the third element, the element of wind. The content of wind, the idea and characteristic of wind is going up above. Like it says, the spirit of an Adam is the one that's rising up above. And the service of a person to the Eibishter, that is the idea of Torah study, which is the idea of Ruach. Ruach is that bringing out and causing the person to have this ongoing tshuka, even when he has the mitzvahs, the mayim, to like calm down that thirst. But even wind doesn't go up above totally. So you say that dal, you say the age for this. We need to have the fourth element, the element of fire. Sheteva age laos lamaila, the nature of fire is to go upwards. Kimavur gambetanya, like it's explained also in Tanya Shah age tivu laos lamaila, that by nature the fire goes up. And the only reason why we're able to keep it in our world, and one needs to have a wick that should draw it down below, so it shouldn't be extinguished and should and go up above, and no fire will remain here. So we see that's how much the fire is nature's to go up above. The service of a person. What is that idea of fire? That's the avoid of wanting to return and going upwards. The self-zel close in an avoidance adam. That is the general idea of the service of a person to the Eibishter. I was created to serve my maker. Bedal in the four elements. Sheklolos in yanam. Who at shuka las l'mayla b'chol dal de fam delay. The general idea of these four elements is the yearning and the desire to go upwards in all the four different ways that we explained earlier. This is similar to the sphere of Malchus. Just like Malchus has this nature of going up, concerning Malchus, it says, Malchus is called the lower light, as opposed to the spheres above Malchus. It's constantly calling and it doesn't calm down. To the higher light, it always wants to come part of that. Which of course, like it says, that the level of glory and honor, in other words, the level of Malchus, is singing and it's not silent, it's always yearning to go upwards. That is all now. But then it goes on to say, Omnam lost and love it, when Mashiach comes, Malchus, Malchus itself, the way it's in this, in Atzilus, it'll shine in the light of above. So it won't have that type of yearning to go up. In its place, it will have. And the same thing by us down here. We won't have that yearning to want to go up. We will have down here all of this. That if the avoidance of Adam, so to the service of a Yitrei B'Shterm, the manner of avoiding Mashiach comes. So it won't be in a way of a yearning, a desire to go up from his level. In his service down here will shine the light of above. That's also the exact usage that the Chazal used. I was created to serve my koini, and he's going to go back to what we spoke about in the previous mimer about koinich. He doesn't say I was created to serve my creator. It makes sense. We're talking about Bria. Ani loy nivresi. So how should it have been the end of the sentence? L'shamish as boiri. Why does it say l'shamish as koini? Because the connection and bond between a person that serves Hashem with Hashem is like a person that acquires something, like we spoke about at length in the previous mic. The item itself that's being acquired does not change. It's only a change of domain. Instead of belonging to the seller, it belongs to the buyer. Like it's explained in Torah, in the meaning of Baruch Koinech, that goes on Atzilus, like we spoke previously at length. Since we're talking about Koini, that means that really the Yid is one with Hashem's essence. Also, a Yid down here below, and Zavoida down here below, when the Mashiach comes, near Yeshua Shalom felt the light of above. That's what it means that the number of the Yidden will be like the sand of the sea that will not be measured and not counted. Because Mashiach comes, even in number itself, number indicates that has a boundary to it, that has an end to it, has a limit to it. In it will be felt something that's beyond measure and boundary. That's why it says number itself. in the limitation itself will be felt super and unlimited. But say Yuvan Gam Inyan Hanailu, but Misper Romania. Now will be understood why numbers and counting is such a special thing. In general, the bracha does not reside only in something that's concealed from the eye. The idea of this number is not measured, etc. It is higher than number, and even higher than something that's higher than number. In other words, there's number and there's higher than number. Our case, where we're combining the two, as we always know, something that combines, let's say, gvul and bli gvul, it's higher than gvul and higher than bli gvul. That's why I can combine them. Yes, by Beis and Yonim, the mispar, believe mispar yachad, the fact that there's both things together, number and beyond number together, so it's higher than both. It's even higher than being beyond number. Similar to what's explained in a different place, that a person needs to make 100 brachas every day. And now Hashem, what does Hashem ask of you? So the Chazal darshan from it, Al Tikra Moel and Meya, do not read it as Ma, but read it as Meya. The idea of the number 100 is the ultimate perfect number. But the ma, which is what? Beyond number, comes into the meya, which is number. So when you have both of these together, the ma and the meya together, it's even higher than ma itself. But this will also be understood what he continues and says. The place that they will tell them, you are not my nation. You will tell them, you will say to them, they're the son of the living God. It's not something new that's outside of place, outside of boundary. In the very place, in the very area, in the very limitation where there's no nation, you are separated from Hashem. You'll say you're the children of the living God. What does that mean? So, tshuva, that's the idea of tshuva, transforming Avedas to mitzvahs. Similar to what the Chazal say, a story in the Chazal about a person wanted to do an Aveda with a certain woman that was not Jewish, and then she converted and she married him. So the very same sheets that she wanted to spread for him in a prohibited way now became transformed to permitted. Now it's the additional light out of the darkness. So that's what it means. In that very place where it's negative, that itself has turned out to positive. According to what we said before, that we're talking about the advantage of the sphere of Malchus, the element of earth, that is under the definition and limitations of time and place. Be understood the connection. What it says later, that the Bnei Yehuda, Bnei Yisrael, the two kingdoms will gather together. Yehuda is from the word that now I will thank Hashem. By Yud, Yehuda Moiral Tmidi, and the Yud of the word Yehuda indicates constancy, like we have in many Omar Chassidus, Inyan Haidav Bittel, that the level of praising and Bittel will be constant. Shazel in the sphere of Malchus, that's the sphere of Malchus. Last love it is Gala, sphere of Malchus. When Mashiach comes, the advantage of sphere of Malchus will become revealed. Ba'achu Yehuda Shuina Malchus, to such a degree that Yehuda, which is the level of Malchus, in Yisrael, Yachta will be together with Yisrael, which goes on the spirits of the Midas Vatzilas. They'll be together. Similar to the joining of number and beyond number will join together. Through our actions of service now in the four elements, avoidance prepares upward, avoid in the way of earth, turning away from bad, avoidance prepares mayim, the avoid of water, doing good. Avoidance in the way of ruach, that's Torah study, searching out peace. Hashem gives strength to his nation. Hashem benches his nation with peace. and that's the strength. Ein oizol a Torah, so the Torah is also a Torah of peace. Ubefrata avoid of age, especially avoiding the way of fire. Shuvin not shuva, this idea of shuva, mach Mashiach, also some tzaddikai, the Mashiach in the future is going to make tzaddikim do shuva. Magam, and how much more so shall they limit in yonim elu through studying these things. So befrak Moshe b'Torah, so saying the same, especially the way they are in the teachings of our Rabbeim and the same. Zoichem b'karav mam shel kim ayud, before we merit very soon to the fulfillment of the promise by Mispar Bnei Yisrael Tchel Shloim Lo Yisafar, that the number of the Bnei Yisrael will be like the sand of the sea, that will not be measured, not be counted. And the place of being negative, will tell them that they're sons of the living God, and the children of Yehuda, the children of Yisrael will gather together, the two kingdoms. For some they will place them on one head. Gomer Shlemas Am will have the perfection and completion of the nation. Ba'aretz Yisrael Shlema, the complete Eretz Yisrael. Shlemas Arts, the completion, the perfection of Eretz Yisrael. Yerushalayim HaKodesh, the holy city Yerushalayim. Kiryas Malcharav, the great capital city of the king. Harabayis, and the holy mountain. Harabayis Shaban, the base Migdash Shaban, the base Migdash Adonai Kohen Yudecha, which is the Migdash of Hashem that your hands prepared and made a mamish speedily in our days.